All right, here we are, part 3, the small but measurable weight shifts. And so, thanks for getting this far. The first couple videos are pretty essential. So this is the extension of part 1 and part 2 of the Mystery Force Challenge. So we're going to start putting some logic and toolage into it and some controls for y'all out there. We'll just quickly go through the most basic of controls we have set up here so people will be able to, understand this on the up and up as much as I reasonably can make it. The first controls here are a little bit of dental floss hanging there because some of the ways fakery has occurred in the past is with some airflow, compressed air, or a fan. So we're not going to be dealing with any of that. So keep an eye on this for windage. We're going to also be using an EMF detector so we can reasonably rule out some sort of trickery with magnetism. And so here we are with a little example. We're in milligauss here. It's the most basic and least expensive EMF tester. Here's a little magnet. You'll start hearing it beeping when it's in presence of something that is putting out EMF. That's kind of a smaller magnet. That's a medium to larger magnet. So there you go. And then it'll settle back down and you'll get a little bit of variation from some EMF, background EMF sometimes, but unless it's beeping, here we are, hold it up to the light. Unless it's beeping, there's really no considerable EMF going on. Sometimes when you move stuff by this fast enough, you'll get a lens law effect if you move it vigorously by stuff, but that's pretty much all you'll see. So I'm going to put this over here next to our scale. And what I don't really know as much as if you can read that or if is that it's quite as important as the green light. So I'll try my best to work around it here. And I'm also going to be doing this in one continuous shot with no editing. We'll be sliding this as best as I can back and forth here with the whole thing in sight and do everything in sight with my hands. So I don't really know what more you could reasonably expect. So let's just try to rule out as much trickery as we can right here in the beginning so we can make sure that we've limited our cognitive dissonance, so it's said, to a new concept. So I wanted to begin to take you through this concept, and here's what this might be a little bit of a longer session. It's going to be unedited. We'll see what happens today, and we'll find out together. And if it doesn't really work too well today, I guess I'll have to make a follow-up video, and that wouldn't be the worst thing because there's been a whole lot of tinkering time and it does fluctuate. So if we're going to walk into this with an open mind, just know that just because this is not working as well at one point doesn't mean that it won't work well later. One of the things that might be relevant and one of the reasons why it's good to have waited to this point in time to put this out is Kosarev. He said that at a certain point the life-giving ethers were diverting energy away from his experiments and into the plant and animal life at spring and summer. So they moved their experiments to Siberia in order to eliminate this yearly fluctuation. And so right now it's getting colder, everything's drying up and dying. We might actually be at a good time, at least on the northern hemisphere, for a little stronger results. So that's just one aspect of it. And I have also kind of watched results dwindle as the greening comes out in the reverse part of the season where everything's getting green again in the spring. Now, I don't have the data on this. This is just something for y'all to possibly pay attention to or, at least be aware of if you're having a hard time with results. One other thing with this, super important before we get to the weight shifts here. If it's not working like this, try moving it 90 degrees and try it again. I don't know why, but sometimes that will do it. You tell me why. just giving you tips here as what I've come put together that'll try to help you be able to put this together yourself the best. So if you haven't felt this in your hands by now, you need to go back and revisit step 1 and step 2, because what the real payoff for me, and I'm being deprived of that by doing this digitally, but when I see the look on somebody's face when they get this for the first time, then their experience becomes a reality, and it's a really fun thing. They look at me with various results, but all the facial looks are similar of what the heck is this, and just kind of curiosity and a little bit of wonderment sometimes, and just kind of, that is the point in time where you have hopefully experienced this yourself and had a little bit of that joy and fun in hand and said, oh wow, there is really something here. So please do keep tinkering, because if you can't feel this out to that degree, the weight shifts might just be a little bit much to ask, because you're going to be using the sensitivity that you've been developing over the first and second videos and extend that to the point where you become the instrument that determines when the force is pulling upwards, which will be where our weight shifts are going to come from. So here we are, we're zeroed out. We've got all these other fun objects back here that we've already taken a look and just try to show that you don't need anything special or in particular to tinker with this, just whatever you can fit in your paw. So those things have been fun. And here we are on part 3, our windage, our EMF detector, and various objects. So there she goes. We've got both analog and a digital scale. The digital scale, that these are not expensive instruments, but we will hopefully, if this goes the way it has before, what we will see is more dramatic results on the analog scale than on the digital scale. But this weighs down to the hundredths. So interestingly, here's a prediction. We'll see if it happens this time. This crystal, as you turn it over and weigh it, it will shift sometimes a little bit more dramatically than others, but it'll shift on the, if you keep it centered and everything just fine and dandy and right, you can feel the weight shifts that you're experiencing in your fingertips slightly fluctuate the weight of the crystal when it's good and working correctly. And you can change it and watch on this digital scale that has more, I think, more sensitivity than this. This is sensitive to the 10th gram on the instrumentation. This is sensitive to the 100th gram. I get upwards of half a gram, sometimes slightly more than a half a gram on this. I get it to more like 0.1 grams on this. So I don't know why that is, and I just want y'all to be aware of it. You tell me why it is. I'm not sure. I don't really know what's going on with this electrically. With what I'm about to show you, we're going to try to reasonably eliminate that this is magnetically related, but we'll find out. There's going to be some magnets that are layered in. Is a way to amp this up to the degree which we can all do, because what we have right here, and to start this off, these are the Hutchison effect metal samples that I got from John Hutchison that started this whole thing, which they have more of this energy in them that we're dealing with here than most. And so they were extra emphasized in hand in figuring this out. They are wacky, anomalous metal samples in themselves. They have strange properties that have been observed and measured and quantified here much more recently with the new interest in the whole plasmoid research section. So these are some original Hutchison effect samples, and just feeling this out in my hands, I was able to come up with the way these orient to make this work. This crack right here faces this way, and this faces this way. And the original feeling this out, and this is when it comes back over the top here, it's when I could really feel it. And so there it is, but not everybody has Hutchison effect samples. So that's not really what I wanted to do here, I just kind of wanted to walk you through how this came to be. And as I picked up other things, then I found that, yeah, this was actually indeed in anything possible that you should come across. It just happened to be a little bit more obvious in these. So we don't all have access to the Hutchison Effect metal sample collection here. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it back down here to what we can all get a hold of, which is why I had to go to the grocery store before making this one. We got a potato. We got an avocado, we got an apple over yonder, we've got a couple limes, and we're going to tinker around with these and see what kind of weight shifts we can get out of fruit and a little bit of vegetable matter here and experiment around together, because previous results have shown me that these are pretty good objects for the weight shifts. So I figured y'all could get a hold of some of these, and what we have over here are some extra strong neodymium magnets. And these are I opposed these and squished them together on a brass bolt. Side adventure, go check out the Boyd Bushman stuff on this. And then you'll see kind of why it's fun to tinker with here. But there it is. Those are 25-pound neodymium magnets, that rings that have been squished together to make an opposed magnetic field. And then over here, we've got, I believe this one's extra strong. It's a 65-pounder. And so we're going to see what kind of weight shifts we can get with the magnets, because what it seems to be doing is piggybacking on magnetism. And so we're going to use whatever's going on with magnetism to make these shift their weight over here. And we're going to try to see which one. This will be a contest between potato, avocado, apple, and lime. So we'll figure this out. Or, you know, if it doesn't work too well today, then so be it. That just means that today's not a good day, and I'll have to do another video and put this together. So trying to get it to where you can read it, but just keep in mind it's going to beep if it comes across a magnetic field. And so there we go. We don't have any magnetic trickery. We don't have any wind blowing in here. And we've got a scale that works just fine. There's a little tap to make sure it zeroes accurately and it's not getting hung up. So we are going to be looking at smaller amounts of weight. Make sure everything's all the way to the left. And be prepared for a bunch of, sliding this stuff around, because that's what we're going to do all here in one continuous shot. And, no trickery. We're all on the same page. Hopefully you've had an experience with this, and let's amp it up to where you can get these results, because it means nothing unless you all want to go out there and join in on the fun. I've had plenty of fun, and I think it's going to be great when other people get involved. Okay, without further ado here, we've got an apple that's never been in any way adulterated by this experiment yet. A virgin apple. So let's center this guy out. Get a swing of this thing again soon. There you go. It's a little hangy sometimes. If it's free floating, it's free floating. So it doesn't need to be precise to get across. What we're doing here is more than tenth of a gram or so. That ought to give us a nice deviation, hopefully. We'll find out together. All right, so we've got the old Granny Smith here centered on 258.6. Little G. Smith apple weighing in. No magnetic anomalies going on that are more than just ambient variation. And we're away with our opposed magnetic weight shift. So we're going to do exactly what we did in the first one and in the second one. And we're going to feel it out between this, which is pretty easy to rotate in my hand, and this apple, which is also not bad. And we're going to try to get some funky weight shifts going. So there'll be a feeling out process. As oh, already feel something there. It's interesting. Pretty quickly with the opposed magnetic tool here, you can feel this. So let me try to orient it in the right direction. Can feel it, but I'm not really. There we go. Okay. So now that I kind of have it, I want to get a little more precise because I do start to feel it tugging upwards. So I move it a little bit over this, like I talked about in the other videos, which is what I want. And as you'll spin this and move it around, you'll feel it tugging this way and that. But when you get it right, it'll start to get really upward blips, which I'm feeling now. And hopefully, yeah, still feeling it. Hopefully, make a little difference. We'll find out together. Not too strong, nothing at all. So let's continue tinkering. Doesn't mean you throw out the apple here. Could throw out the methodology slightly and get another Hutchison effect sample out, but that's not going to do anything for people out there. I want to make this as consistent as I can for other people and try to make this work. This felt like it's tugging up a little better, but nothing on the scale at all with the Granny Smith and the opposed magnets. So be prepared for plenty of this, because I could show you a highly edited video of this only working out, but that's not realistic because I can feel it in my hands. I'm not getting a very strong reaction today. Not with this setup. Well, see, as I move this one around this way and that way, it's crazy how sharply you can feel it moving in the apple. So there's definitely something going on, but today we're going to, oh, there we go. I'm starting to feel not much on the scale. So we'll start to get this little digital scale involved then. See if we get anything on it at all before we move on to another thing. You can sure feel it sharply, but not getting much on the scale today. And that's puzzling because it doesn't really feel much different in your hand when it's one of the stronger days on the scale. So who knows? That's why we need more eyes. Ooh, I just kind of pushed it. Turn it over here. Just dropped it. Alright. Try that. Got just the tiniest little tiniest bit heavier. So, I'm gonna try something here. Well, it's just one of them days. I was trying to make it lighter, but it got heavier. And let's try to recenter this. There was a reasonable difference. No, this thing just kind of moved a little. This might not be the day. We did get a 0.2 gram deviation. So that's on par with a day that's not too great. And that is something. So there we're centered at 258.8. Which I shouldn't sound too disappointed. That's definitely something. So maybe I'll get it to do it a little more. Okay, so there it is. Spinning it around a little bit and try to get that all in frame again more and see if this does anything even more than it just did. So now we're getting some funkiness. And just a little bit back under. And there she's zeroed again. So that just went back down 0.1 grams to 258.7 for whatever reason under heaven. I'm just going to spin it around here now that it's already kind of stuck to this magnet. I don't really need to as much have the magnet. It didn't really work very well. Try to get this magnet here again a little better. Try to get it kicking a little harder. Okay, there we go. All right. Actually, it's getting stronger if I can maintain that exact pattern. But now it's kind of pulling upwards. I'm going to stop moving this one. See if I can find a different angle that'll get me feeling a little lighter. It's not working that great. Not the strongest of results so far. I'm not going to call it a day yet. This is important to see because I could easily just show you the times that it works the best, and I think that's misleading. I think it's best to see what it really looks like because it ain't glamorous. So just feel it out, and feeling it out is literally what's required. And then you can follow your fingertips and find these patterns and go, whoa, okay, that's a thing. Spinning it this way and that, see what happens next. Not much is the answer. Back down to the original starting weight, it looks like. Yep, so here we are on a journey back to 258.6. We really just went 258.6, 258.8, 258.7, back to 258.6. So there's your beast. Looks like we had such little activity, this thing turned itself off. So, yep, not much going on the magnetic side of things. Hopefully no drafts or anything that'll make you think there's a fan or anything involved. All right, so that did not work very well. That's a perfect example of what I had talked about, where when it's not working the best, that's a pretty reasonable expectation, is about 0.2 grams. And that is a big deal, but it isn't a big deal. It gets better than that. So, and also not the most precise of equipment. It's nothing to really brag about at this point. So we're going to pull over. Let's see here. We're going to try a lime. Oh, no, not at all. We're not done with the apple yet. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get the 65 pounder out that's more cube shaped. We're going to see if we can really get this thing without opposed magnetic fields involved to do better. So, once again, and you will literally just be able to feel this force kind of pushing and pulling this way and that until you want to, for the weight shifts at least, get it pulling upwards, and kind of helps to be right above it after you get it kind of locked in. I can feel it in both objects. All right, we'll see what the 65 pounder does today. I get it feeling the lightest I can here. I do feel, you can feel it in both sides, and that shouldn't be the case. This thing has no magnetic signature to it. It doesn't, in any way stick to an apple, but yet you can still feel this. And sometimes with the magnets, especially a little strong one, it seems to amp up this energy that I believe is lying underneath it all, and can piggyback more or less on magnetism and heat, but not limited to it as best as I can describe. Trying to fill this out at the same time and keep the thought train going. I know it's not the most entertaining thing in the world, but let's try to amp it up a bit. Put that down now. That's not the way. Getting ho-hum sort of results here today. Even just feeling it in hand, it's not particularly strong. All right, so it'll start in close proximity, and then you can keep it going. When it's working well, it doesn't matter, but you can still feel it in orientation to the other one. It's weird. We'll see today what happens with that one. Not much. You'll see little ambient fluctuations in the back with the EMF detector. Just 0.3 has been what I've seen fluctuate, but it probably could fluctuate more just sitting it around. And it actually needs a little fluctuation or else it'll turn off. All right. All right. Flipped it over a little bit more. Dang, I wish I did that. See what I'm doing better. It's hard to concentrate on all this stuff. And this is what it takes. Not giving up. It's not it's not a simple recipe for guaranteed results. So glad we saw a little fluctuation, but nothing to write home to mom about so far. Hopefully we'll find something else that does more. And that's probably about going to do it for this apple. And so moving on here. We're just going to go ahead and go with the classic. This thing is pretty consistent. There is some vectoring force that's known to exist between crystals and magnets. So let's take that and let's use it. And you can actually fill this out when holding a crystal very clearly because of that property of crystals and magnets. And then once you have it in the crystal, you can weigh it over there. So try to get this thing really, yeah, it feels pretty good today. So let's play with this one. We're at 300. This wasn't quite in the groove. All right. So I just fiddled with it and tried to make it a little bit lighter. It's one of those things that was on the video, or on the documentary at least. So now we're getting really close to zero. Here we are at 368.4. And no sort of magnetic anomalies detected. So I'll make sure to keep the clear end facing this way. We're going to try to spin it around a bit and see if what I just tinkered with, make it lighter, because then we'll need to get it back to being its original heavy. I don't feel it or hear it getting heavier. We'll see. Alrighty, she did shed a little bit, so I'll go ahead and try to wind her back down to its original weight, because this is something I've tinkered with so much that I got to try to make it back to its original weight before we can even get a bearing on the weight shifts. So as this has shown me to be pretty consistent, we'll go ahead and jump right into it, because today's not the strongest day, but we'll see what the crystal does today, because yeah, that's what we're all here for. Might as well jump in. All right, so here we are. Crystal, it's, you know, sitting on this in a way that's, there's some marks underneath it that it's lined up with, to try to, as reasonably as I can, keep it in the same position as we go through this stuff. But sometimes you'll have to put it down in a different direction. So who knows what'll happen here. But for now, here we are zeroed at 368.4 was the original starting weight, and we're zeroed at 368.6. So already we've just kind of experienced the full drama of what this is likely to do today, but we'll get it to lighten up again, and we'll tinker with that, and we'll get it to go heavy again. We'll go back and forth as much as we need. Also, we're still falling asleep over here on us. There's not much going on. So sometimes it's helpful between both of these. Here's another thing that I might have to start reverting to more. Magnet, opposed magnet. Got to try to not let them do that. That's the whole challenge. But you can do this between both of these objects and overcome the magnetism and not let it slap into each other. You'll actually get a reaction that you can feel underneath the magnetism building just the same, and now they are, you know, tugging on each other. So now, dang it. Now I've got that. Kind of, I'm going to try to get these things pushing upwards together. So that's the challenge. You can also really chip and damage these doing that, but or hurt your fingers, especially if you have like stronger magnets. So these are right below hurting your fingers level. Pretty much it will pinch you, but it won't hurt you. So be careful with your magnets. Alrighty, so I can actually feel this force between these two. And I want to try to direct it upwards as much as I can feel in my hands between the two. That's pretty good. And then stick them in a way like that on the tape, and voila. So we'll see if this maybe amps it up a little bit, because it doesn't matter what the magnetic proclivity is or isn't, this is still going to happen underneath it. But when you add the magnetism to it, I can already feel it much more strongly affecting this crystal than before with both of them together. So that is definitely something that I want other people to be aware of and explore. We kind of stepped it up today. We had a little 0.2 gram variance, but this feels much stronger now. And this is a way that you can amp it up as well. I know there's some cost in this with these magnets, but these are 25-pound ring neodymiums on a brass bolt forced together opposed. And this is a 65-pound cube. And together it seemed to work very well when I had it taped inside of that box. in the correct orientation. Made a little widget out of it, and yeah, it feels nice between these two. You can feel both of them combining their whatever, really wanting to get it lifting. So hopefully get it really wanting to, all right, getting the right orientation between these two and over. Oh, all right, now it just feels like it's dangling right now. It's really wild. I'll see what that wants to weigh dangly like, see what it does, or if anything at all. I just had to flip it in the different orientation. No change there at all anyways. So we're going to fidget with this. Maybe we can refidget with these a little. It took some feeling out to really get it to work well the first time, but it does feel like they're adding both of their energy together to make an even stronger effect between them when you can hold them apart strongly enough to not let them slap into each other and actually do this pattern with the magnets. So there's another fun one for people to try. I do feel it pretty strongly, especially when I'm spinning it and fluctuations, pulling upwards. And there's the clear end in the right orientation to where we started. We'll see what happens. Not much. Go around the facets and see what happens. Quite a lot. Okay, so not much on that facet on the beginning, but now we're going to go over that together again. So watch this. Hopefully it's not going to be squirrely with us. We'll get back to where we started. Reasonably speaking, we are centered, so let me get you close to everything here as we go around on the different facets and we weigh it. Still, the weight is still in the same spot there. Which way did I go? Did I go the wrong way? And that's the fun thing about it. If you go the wrong way, it builds in a way that you're like, oh, go back the other way again. Because yeah, that felt something's going on, and I'm not getting much. I'm hearing it. You can kind of hear it making weird variations in the tone there when it starts to kind of pull down a little bit. So we're slightly heavier. Not enough to really write home to mom about. We'll go ahead and recenter it here. We got about a 0.1. 2, actually, as these are heavier objects, it takes a little more travel to balance it. There we go, that's balanced. So 0.1, 0.15, we'll call it, distance travel. All right. And we started, we'll go back over our numbers at 368.4, went to 368.6. And it looks like we're going to be slightly more now. That's a little too much. Yep, so we're at 368.8. So just little variances here. And just keep weighing it on the different facets. So we spin it around. The merry-go-round of fun. So now it just varied slightly lighter. Slightly. There we are, another 0.1, right under 0.1 variation, so we'll call that 368.75. So that's a pretty precise deal. I can see that I'm halfway between both of these little notches there, and I'll call that not too bad for bottom of the barrel fun. So we're back around to where we started again. And then we just got another small variation to make it heavier by the smallest margins. So as you go around the facets, change its weight. Now this one might be a one that's interesting on the digital scale. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what's going on with the digital side of the way this thing weighs out as we go over the facets, because I found that one to be pretty good at showing this. And what we're gonna do won't be too hard, won't take too long. We'll get this really making sure it's got a good strong reaction. Ooh. That's cool. Oh, darn it. Frame again. Here I am fiddling out of frame, trying to make this thing feel like it's getting lighter in hand, wobbling around this way and that. So this digital scale, we're going to tear it. Tear button. We're at 0.00. Do that again. Tear button. And we'll just kind of go around the facets, see if anything happens. Am I going the wrong way? I'll try it back the other way. 3, go that way. Not much going on there. All right, well, that's that. And not even enough of a trace response on the digital hundredths scale. So not the strongest day altogether. Turn that back on, wake it back up again. Try to get as best of a weight shift as we can out of this thing. So let me really get to tinkering here. Fiddling a little bit more over here. Get this in forward here. Maybe I've got this oriented in a way that could be better. We fiddle with this. Maybe I'll switch sides with this. See, there you go. That's what happens when you get a magnet close. Yeah, I think I probably should be doing it with these hands. I can feel it way better holding them this way than the other way. Got to just figure out how to do this in a way that builds this feeling you can. There we go. Now it's fighting with the magnetism, but it's giving way to the magnetism too. As you pull it away further, you can still feel it. Want to try to make sure to get it to work properly with as best as chance as we have of getting a weight shift of above 0.2 grams, which is, dang it, beating my magnets up. But that is exactly as proclaimed. We'll see variances of 2 gramish, 0.2 grams, or up to half a gram or slightly more. So not very eventful, small but measurable weight shifts. And that's all that I'm claiming. And we're trying to use magnetism instead of strange metal samples that other people can't access. So hold on. I'm trying to tape this down in a way that feels like it's projecting this upwards. Just beating the tar out of these. Beating the tar out of them. All right, so got to be strong enough to resist that. And then kind of cancel out to an extent when you get it right. pretty strong between them. Whoa. I think that'll work better, hopefully. And it's really as amped up as it's going to get for the day. But, and so here's another trick. Sometimes when you're trying to do this, not only will you continue this pattern over this away, but then it'll kind of Jacob's ladder sometimes as you climb up what I can only describe as an invisible ladder, and you can feel it rising in the object. And this is also very strange sounding, so you're really just going to have to take a look into it for yourself, because it does sound strange. That's why I want you to check it out for yourself, because it's pretty fun, because it is strange. If it was easy, it wouldn't be the Mystery Force Challenge. And so a challenge that hopefully others will accept and explore here, because there is something going on with it that does have to do with possible implications and other interesting parts of science. But for now, I'm not going to go into that stuff. I would be happy to go into... Whoa, there we go. Woo! There we go. We got some pay dirt. There we go. All right. So it did feel like it was working out a lot better. Although I was using these magnets over here, I don't have any sort of a magnetic reaction going on with the situation. And I just had the sort of weight shift that I think we're really hoping for. So there it will be. Here we go. Something more sizable. So a couple of points down to 368.5. So we started at 368.4, 0.6, 0.8, 0.75. Now we dropped a couple of points to 0.5. So it seems like now we've kind of got this set up to do some more moving on this, moving of the scale. So let's try to tinker with it a little more. And that's, I'm glad to show it to you this way. I can't express this enough. You are the most precise instrument possible. It takes the time to tinker and follow your fingertips. You don't even have to think too hard. You just follow your fingertips here. It will emerge. I did have a neighbor that had neuropathy, and he's like, oh, you know, I really wish I could feel it, but I feel nothing at all. I have neuropathy in my fingers. I'm like, okay, that's a little different. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure if everybody can feel it to the same degree, but I know that it can be felt to some degree. So hopefully we can get on some sort of a consensus. If you can make sure to keep in mind what I said in the first video, I believe it was, or maybe the second, either way, that we're wanting to take a couple breaths and really kind of entrain our fingertips to be feeling these sort of 0.2 to 0.5 gram shifts. Oh, there's a pulling upwards pretty good. And so hopefully we can feel it on our fingertips and then put it on a scale when it's really pushing its hardest and get some sort of a deviation. Nothing to write home to mom about there. Give it a pass around the facets, see what we get this time. Quite a bit of deviation on the facet, on the moving it around at this point here on the facet. So there we were at 0.5. We got some deviations as you go, and that's what I'm saying is useful about this crystal is you can see on the scale what you're feeling in your hands when you get this to work. So let's see. That puts it at 368.75. 368.75. And there we are, back to 368.75. So we'll keep cruising around the facet bend. Look at that. Now we're back. We just shed that. Back to, that's not quite centered. 368.5. 368.5. So keep cruising. I can't remember which way I'm going, but also this isn't consistent. You can cruise one way for a bit and then it'll disappear, reappear, shift. You'll expect it to go up and it'll go down. It's part of the mystery here. And we did just get another slight variance. Picked up about another 0.1 as we turned it that way heavier. Looks like about. We'll call it another 0.1. So 368.6. And yeah, I can really not only feel it, but you can hear it. I'm going to sleep again. Feel it scraping downwards as it shifts, like sometimes. So that one felt like it got heavier in my fingertips. I could kind of feel it pulling down on the plate. And it indeed got slightly heavier. You'll get the feel for it. And you spend, I don't know, I spent a couple years tinkering with this. So like, I'm just trying to be really honest. If it was easy, everybody be doing it. This is the mystery energy or mystery force challenge. It's a mystery. It's a challenge. And welcome to the challenge, because there is some major implications that I'd be happy to explore. There's some major questions that I'd be happy to ask, and some conversations that I've had with some very interesting people about these things that I'd be happy to share and explore and layer more train coaches there on the thought train, peel back the layer of the onion more. But for now, I'm still trying to make sure that we're on the same page before going much further. It's impossible to do anything if we can't come to some sort of a consensus of what's what with this in the beginning. So I don't want it to be mystified or anything like that. I don't want it to get written off. I just want it to be explored by people who are curious enough to actually give a hoot. That would make me feel awfully darn good. So anybody out there that wants to take a look into this and see what's going on for yourself, just be mighty nice. So there we go. Going to the next facet, we just dropped a tiny bit of weight. So yeah, it's interesting to see how this kind of goes across the facets you'll feel in your hand, making these slight. So we're back at 368.6. And so we started, so we do have a pretty good deviation. We had about a 0.4 gram at most. So we started at 368.4, went to 368.6, 368.8, back to 368.75, back to 368.5. And then as we turn it around on the facets here, 368.75, 368.5, 368.6. So that's really a pretty good one to show what I'm getting at. And we're not quitting there. I'm not quitting on you at this point. We've got all these other vegetables and fruits and such that might want to say something to us, might surprise us. We're going to really see what we can do here and get a little food for thought going on this whole matter. So I've been curious. This is hopefully, here we go. I'm going to use my brain sack. We're going to have to re-zero somewhat here. But we'll just zero this all together. part of the weight of the lime. I'm going to make sure that if we need to, we can stick it down in whatever orientation without rolling off so much, or at least try. So let's see what the heck's going on. I don't think it's 100 grams. Heck no. Not even close. So it doesn't really seem like it matters as much as the weight of the object to start. The variations do tend to be roughly the same 0.2 to 0.6 grams, whether it's, 40, 60, whatever gram object or a larger object. These weight shifts do seem to be consistently, usually in the best of times, like slightly over half a gram is what I have observed. So, and if you're having weak results, like I said, try 90 degrees different and see what's happening. I've done this enough around here to know that this is the stronger direction for these things. So that's another part of the mystery. Who knows why that may be? It does seem stronger when I'm pointing this thing east and west. So, and I'm facing the north. Yes, I'm facing north. This thing's facing east and west. Try that out. See if that helps you. Tell me what that means also, because I sure don't know. So here we are. 62.8. Weighing in at 62.8. We got the lemon. We got the lightweight lemon. No, lime, sorry. Lightweight lime at 62.8. 62.8. All right, we're starting at 62.8 with the virgin here. No magnetic tinkering. Try to do this all on camera. We don't have any sort of a magnetic wobble. No magnetism detected in Senor Lime. No magnets have been inserted. We've got no blowy fans. We've got our windage detection. We've got our zero weight. And we're going to go from there. And hopefully there's some people out there that have been kind of following around the Martin Flesh Memorial Project that have the kind of long attention span for furthering their tinkering knowledge. And so hopefully there'll be people that really are interested in following along. And as nerdy as it sounds, we'll see what happens with the lime. So we'll see what happens with the lime, if I can get it feeling fine. And feel something, but not a whole lot with the way that these are positioned. Well, there we go. There we go. And this is probably a pretty good case for the digital scale too, because it's so light it's not going to go off the top of the scale, so we can really take a look and see what's going on. It's starting. It just feels hangy. It just starts to kind of want to hang up a little bit, like it's got gyroscoping effect inside that's kind of trying to do its own thing. You feel it wobbling around in various ways. And it's kind of fun. All right, so that feels good. We're gonna take a look and see what's going on. Oh, it's weird. Kind of lost it there. We'll spin our way over. Who knows why, but it feels like that helped. That way. So, nothing to write home to mom about with that so far. I'm going to get these back individually out and see if something else will happen. Just never know. I just want you all to see what a full-born tinkering around, feeling it out session looks like after a few years of practice. So, if this is something that you're fumbling around with and you're getting frustrated, well, I'll tell you quite precisely, you're doing it correctly. If you're fumbling and frustrated, you're doing it correctly. So keep after it. Just know that that's the way it works. And we're trying to figure out something a little different than what's already known. So we're mystery force challenge. Challenge everybody to tell me what's going on with this that makes the most sense. I'll be happy to give you my own thoughts on it, which I have and I will be sharing. But for now, we're just going to try to get some weight shifts going on where people can get it for themselves. Small but measurable weight shifts to the tune of 0.2 to 0.5 grams. I don't know if that helped. It's not feeling very strong. Not feeling too strong. Yeah, we'll still give it a whirl. Ride the wheel, give it a whirl. Yeah, nothing to write home to mom about. All right. That's why we go over to this one. You see those magnets. And we're going to even try it with the crystal at some point here because, you know, this is just generally what I've... Oh, that feels nice. It's generally what I've found is that somewhere between the magnets or the opposed magnets, you can... Sometimes with both together, you can get some pretty fun results. We'll see what happens here. Okay. Just feeling better. Feeling better on this end. All right, I still feel it between the two. They're still connected. Try to roll it around to where it's pulling upwards. Ooh. Yeah, not much. We got, like, really though, we don't got anything to write home to mom about. No, we don't. So one last stab at it before we give up on the lightweight lime candidate here. We're going to try to do a crystal in the right hand. Get this crystal involved and see what it wants to do. Change hands maybe. That's starting to feel pretty good. You can feel both objects kind of getting lighter. We'll see what it wants to do. It's probably be potato, an avocado, and we'll see what's shaking. And not much today, which is a perfect introduction to this. A little bit tired of feeling it out. My frustration is a little bit being felt here, but as I really want people to understand, that means that you're doing it correctly if you're getting frustrated. And I am, I guess, the most experienced person in the world with this whole wackiness, if whatever you want to call it, unless somebody else has been tinkering around with this sort of stuff, in which case I would love to talk. But yeah, so as the most experienced person in the world with this crap, just know that you are absolutely sticking the landing if you're frustrated and you're taking a lot of time to move forward in 0.1 grams at a time, and that means you're doing it right. So continue on, keep up the good work. We got an avocado up next. We're going to try to, best results we've had today so far was to try to combine these two, get it oriented correctly to where we could get some upward push. upward pushes that will benefit us for this cause. Somehow or another, magnetism can be used to amp this up. It will take the properties as you'll feel it in your hands, and basically once you get it to the point where it's resisting. You want it to always be resisting, and then you can follow this pattern. If you stay completely aligned in it, you'll find that it doesn't take long, there it goes, to just jump right on board. So you can feel it pretty good there. Let's get our avocado base reading here. Getting avocado crazy over here. Come on, all hopes are on the avocado and the potato at this point, because it's going to be time to get back after a couple other things here shortly. But not before we give this a full college try. Because if we could get it to work around a 0.5 gram level after tinkering and failing up and getting a little better and hopefully get something that really sticks the landing here, well, that would be absolutely accurate to the way this is going to probably work out for anybody under the sun. So that's why it needs to be studied more. There's blips, hits, and misses. They're happening for a reason. I don't understand that reason. I am just aware that there are fluctuations, and would love to have other people trying to figure out what exactly is going on here. So thanks for anybody that's listening to me at this point. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is a lot. It's boring and dry, and that's very accurate. So here we are. Weighing the avocado in, we have 189.5. We didn't really get diddly squat for variation on the lime. So we'll see what the avocado says. What I was trying to say is, like, I've had these things do nothing at one point in the day and then do a lot at other points in the day. So, like I said, if your results are weak, go try it later in the day. Move your angle 90 degrees, especially particularly facing north with your scale facing east-west. Use a manual scale, not a digital scale. Things like that. Just try to make sure that you can see directly what's going on with gravity. And if you need to, get an EMF detector to... That feels pretty good, actually. EMF detector to where you can make sure that you can control for the same, and make sure that, although I'm spinning it around magnets, this avocado has not become magnetized. And these are not results of magnetism, but maybe a different property that is unknown. So it seems like it is related to magnetism, but not exclusive to it. So we'll see what the magic avocado... Whoa, just pulled a windage off. Magic avocado feels like it's spinning like a helicopter in my hand like this. I'm trying to see if I can get it to get into place good enough to weigh up on its end like an egg. Probably not. Gorilla tape is the best I can do for now. And get more involved. Then I have to weigh everything anyway. Yeah, I do feel it one way more than the other. See. Whoa. Nope, that fell off slightly. But we actually did. Make sure, double check. 89 point. Yeah, I bumped it. So this would be... It's best to write your stuff down, because sometimes you'll bump it, and make sure that you know where you started at. So we are precisely where we started, if not a slight, who knows, we're where we started. So yeah, make sure to write your stuff down, and be aware if you bump this stuff, then it can jiggle things around. And so you want to write these down, because if you see your little slide moving a little bit after you've taken things on and off, then you don't want to trick yourself into thinking that you're getting variances that you're not. So that's important. Just little things that I want to make sure people keep in mind, because I want you to have the best chance of not only success, but true success. And it takes a lot of feeling out and experience. And once you get it as strong as possible, then you will see some weight shifts. You really got to have some time and patience to get to that point through the part 1 and part 2 here. So just, I don't know why it's wanting to turn this way now, but you just have to feel it out, because those the pattern on the blocks is a way to get these things associated with each other for sure. But there's other movements and motions that seem to do things as well. And this guy feels like it's like spinning up a ladder. So we'll see what it does. Come on, avocado! Woo! We actually did get a pretty sizable weight drop there. Pretty good, pretty good. All right, I could feel that one in my hand as strongly as I've felt something today. There's probably, I'm predicting a 0.25 to 0.3 gram shift. It just happened right there. Senior avocado. So it just got lighter. By 0.25. That's pretty good. That's something. So we're at 180, and I'm being as fair as I can. That's in between the two marks there. So we're going to call that 189.5.25. So that's a 1/4 gram difference in our original weigh-in on the senior avocado. Let's see if I can keep that trend going. Make sure that we're not magnetizing our avocado in any way here. Oh, zoom back out. And, hopefully you've seen that I'm doing my reasonable best to have some controls to where you can, hopefully rest easy, that you can tinker with this stuff knowing that it's not a hoax or a prank. It is exactly as I describe from my experience. We all have different experiences. I'm trying my very best here in the plainest of language to give people the best chance of success, because this does go into many interesting things, which, once again, I will be happy to get into at great length if people actually should care for my 2 cents on that stuff. But until we kind of understand that this is real, my 2 cents is just irrelevant. So let's try to get on the same page about what is what in the grand scheme of reality, and that there's something going on here we're looking into. And I was just following the way that in my hand that it seemed to be building in strength, spinning it like a football there, flying through the air, and good Lord, there we go. She did get a big old drop. I can feel that one in my hand. Look at that variation there. So we've got ourselves a really good variation here. We don't have any sort of magnetic bleed over into the avocado. We used the magnets over here to get this effect with the opposed magnets and the square magnet that have been forced together opposed to themselves. So you're kind of trying to push these magnets together to where they always feel like they're opposing, and go through the pattern. And as soon as you feel it pushing and pulling, you just get them away from each other and keep that orientation. Hopefully you can feel it in your hands when it's pushing upwards. When this one, you feel it in your hand, tape them into place. Bada bing, bada boom. You're getting yourself some real weight shifts here finally. This is actually a little exciting for me, because as much as I can say that it's good for you to see it when it doesn't totally work out, it is nice for it to actually get some real weight shifts. So bouncing around here. I don't care what anybody says. This is a pretty precise way to do it. I can sit here and tell, what's what with this scale very well. So we have 189.6 here. 189.6. So we started at 189.5, went to 189.25 onto the original starting weight. Now we've gained 0.1 over the original starting weight, with the variance between the 0.25 gap that we were getting between the 0.5, 0.25, that's a 0.25 gap. Now we moved to 0.6, that's a 0.35 jump. So we jumped 0.35 grams in between the last two measurements. So here's what will really blow your mind. Now we've got this thing moving around. I don't know if it'll really blow your mind. Let's try to get it back into its lighter. Let's just keep going on. Let's try to get it a little lighter, a little heavier, a little lighter. Dang it. All right, let me show you back here what the avocado is doing. Once again, changed immediately when I got it in out of orientation, because now I just wanted to reweigh it because I moved out of screen for just half flash, and we are way lighter. Because now, you know, it's just like it didn't feel like it got lighter in my hand, but it did feel like it shifted. And now we're weighing it reasonably on the same exact tape spot there, and you got the 189.3. So just picking it up and reorienting it, and I was going to try to do this all in one frame, so you know there's no funny business. Yada, yada, yada. Here we are, recentered again, and it's moving around. So now it's nice and light, almost as light as we've seen it. So that's interesting. It just got lighter again for us. And here we are. We'll try to make sure. Let me show this. History tells us anything this will make it heavier, but who knows today what it'll do. So it got slightly heavier there. Nothing to super write home to mom about. Let's continue to spin it in this direction. Feels like a corkscrew pulling downwards, actually. And now I can feel it sucking downwards. Hopefully it'll be a little shifty shift. But looks like it's getting a little lighter. So God knows what's going on with this avocado. We're going to change directions and weigh it in the different directions here, just like we were doing with the crystal. So that did get heavier. Now got lighter. So like I said, when it's facing in one direction versus another, it's stronger. It's a weird one. That's why it's a mystery. So here we are, centered finally. Getting a little burned out here. It looks like it's dawdling around a little bit on the groove. Make sure that's not going to move on me. All right. If you're not bored yet, you'll be bored soon. So we're going to have a potato way off, and really, we get moving on to the potato here shortly. We got a couple more directions to weigh this avocado in and see what happens. There we go. It got much heavier again. So that's funny. It's just, it changes as you rotate things that when this effect takes place, as you will feel in your hand. I'm trying to get them to be feeling in hand like they're pulling upwards, but sometimes I just don't really know what the heck makes things do this. But if you can feel it out in your hands to an extent, and then it'll go backwards on the scale real quick. So there we go. We just saw another avocado significant weight shift from just changing its orientation. It's a very interesting thing, actually. That should make people think a little. What is really going on here? All right, there we are. We got heavier, lighter as we go around the different avocado directionals. And I could feel it. It was pretty strong. This is a little stronger. Not much of a variance there. Looks like we might be kind of vary it out. Try to play around with the avocado a little more, just for fun. See what we can get to happen. There we go. It's lighter again. Flip it over, tape it down in the same exact spot. Not much. Change this direction this way. Not much. So she seems to be tapering off. So, you know, when you hit it, you hit it. When it falls out, it falls out. But now that this is already going on, I don't need to be close to this anymore. I just felt it out real quick in my hand and got it to doing something again real quick. You don't need it to be proximity based when it's working correctly. After that point, you can just feel it all the time in your hand. Oh, she got heavier. And take it from there. But it needs to really click in the beginning, and then it will forever feel that way and wonky. So, this thing's... I'm going to try to feel it out a little just on its own here. All right, that got quite a bit lighter. There we go. Yeah, and these are the sort of things that you'll actually find when it's working really well. These are small but measurable weight shifts that have to do with the, I guess almost it's like a gyroscoping feel that you're affecting between the objects, and it feels like it's pushing left, pushing right. Maybe perhaps right now it feels like it's not really pulling up or down, but pushing left or right, not really affecting the scale. But I can spin it and turn it to where it does start to feel like it's pulling upwards now. It's got a strong association with those magnets that are just sitting over there, but it doesn't need to be in proximity anymore. I don't feel like it's getting any stronger. It's kind of maximum strength right there. And that might be about as light as it's going to get. Let me check my numbers. We've had this one down to 189.25, and we're slightly-ish. Yeah, we're pretty much topping out right around 189.2 to 189.25-ish. So that's as low as we've seen it, and the highest we've seen it is 189.6. So that's not bad. That's a lot more satisfying to me and anybody that's made it this far. I'm glad that you saw that. I'm sorry this is so bizarre. I'm sorry this is so vague. I'm trying my best here, but I hope that you take that as a challenge, because this really is. It's a Mystery Force challenge. So I'm trying to lighten it up as best as I can. See if I can get any more to get to that 0.5. She ain't far. She seems like we're maybe going to get there. That's about as strong as it gets. 0.4 is respectable. 0.2, no, it's just nothing right home about. But there we go. Let's hope that we can get it a little under further yet. But I don't think she's going to do much more. No, that's as heavy or as light as it's going to get. To 189.2. So let's try to take this back through again and get it as heavy as we can. It's gotten a little heavier. It's like it corkscrews in and out of phase with this and back to its original weight. And we're going to keep doing it until we get there. So we just added another 0.2 or so grams back. So now we're at 189.4. Alright, and try to spin this back to its original, or its heaviest weight. Try if we can get that full 0.4 gram weight shift, which we're getting probably close because it just got a little heavier again. There's another 1/10 of a gram as we're working this energy out, literally like a corkscrew. So here we are at 189.6. Is that where we're? Yep, 189.6. So that was the last 0.2 grams right there. And it's like, I can't describe it any more accurately. It feels like you're shifting in and out of phase between the two objects. It feels like if you start to go out of phase, you can kind of go backwards in the pattern. It feels like it falls off sometimes. You got to start back over again. But when you get it really strong, then it's not proximity based anymore. Seems like it fluctuates depending on the direction your scale is in. It depends and fluctuates depending on what type of scale that you use. It depends on the time of the year, time of the day. And, you know, there's just so many unknowns here. And that's why I invite you to take this as a challenge. And it is a mystery. And if it was easy, everybody be doing it. If, if this was known about, then I wouldn't be piping up. I don't like wasting my time or other people's time, but I feel like this is important enough to seem silly or outlandish about. I hope that you can experience similar results and tinker around with it. I have other thoughts, tips, and stories, interpretations, and stuff, but that is truly what it looks like on these small but measurable weight shifts. You'll find some stuff that wants to work better than other stuff. You'll find some stuff works at better times of the day or year. Who knows? Mystery Force Challenge on. Please do tinker in lighthearted fun. And if you're getting frustrated and you're not getting many results, well, you're doing it right. Just keep after it. Follow what you're feeling in your fingers. You are the most important link in this chain. And once we start to get some sort of a consensus here about like, wow, this really actually is something that science needs to take a look at, I'll be happy to go off the deep end from there. But until we actually have some sort of a working consensus on what actually we can acknowledge, admit, and agree upon, then any further super deep, off the deep end interpretation or explanation is probably not going to be too helpful. You can watch my documentary if you want some of those wacky views. Things have been wildly extended upon since then. Conversations and getting to know people like Malcolm Bindall, Jordan from Alchemical Science, as well as correspondence with John Hutchison. And I'll be happy to share some of those stories and insights and thoughts on what's going on. So, gosh, we're at 1 hour and 35 minutes. And I know that's a long time, but it honestly pales in comparison to the amount of time that I spent on this for years, a couple of years before I really wanted to try to bring this forward. And then I've had this kind of beaten out of me for feeling silly and weird because my documentary is very forthcoming. I didn't think that it would really be honest for me to make it very scientific. It was honest as I could make it. And I also didn't feel like it would be totally totally honest to just go, this is just some mysterious crystal energy thing. No, it's neither of those are totally true or totally not true. I had to fumble around with it, tinker with it, get curious with it, and then find the truth for myself. And then you can start to bring in all the little controls and the doodads and the instruments, but you first have to agree with what you're experiencing is a valid thing to look into. So I'm trying my best here, and if you actually follow what I've talked about and you've seen everything in all three of these videos, well, I wish you the very best. I thank you so very much. And like I said at the beginning, your time is the only currency. I don't like to waste time, and mine or anyone else's. So hopefully I'll hear back from some people and some experiences. And if you absolutely can't get it to work, reach back out in the comments. I will do my best to try to take notice of what's working, what's not working, maybe address it in a comment, or maybe make a subsequent video if many people are having the same comment. I want to make sure that anybody that wants to give this a try has their best chance. So happy tinkering, happy Mystery Force Challenge. I'll see what happens.